بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to just quickly talk about one of the major mistakes of the Khawarij. And if it was just to refute the Khawarij, then that's one thing. But the problem is this major mistake that they have has also spread into the general population of the Muslims who are not considered to be Khawarij, that they know of, and they're not considered to be people of knowledge or people who have studied with the scholars. They have adopted this major mistake, not knowing that this is actually from the manhaj of the Khawarij. So I wanted to talk about this topic and clarify it and go through with some evidences from the Quran and Sunnah to clarify and correct this common mistake. For the Khawarij, they've used as their ammunition the 10 invalidators of Islam by Al-Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. And nothing's wrong with the 10 invalidators, but the problem is their understanding and application of the invalidators. So we have the Takfiris, the Khawarij, that use them excessively. Then you have another group who attack all those who follow Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, thinking that this is actually the right way, which the Khawarij are using. And so we've got two groups who have both misunderstood the works of the Imam and have both fallen into misguidance. For these say everyone is a kafir and a murtad, and these people say no one's a kafir and no one can be taken out of Islam. Whereas rather the ulama of Ahl Sunnah remain in the middle between both. Yes, we can make takfir, but it has conditions. So one of their major mistakes is اعتقاد وجود التلازم بين الحكم على الفعل وفاعله. What does this mean? They see a talazum, or an attachment, between the ruling of the action and the individual doing the action. Meaning to say that whoever does a shirk is a mushrik, whoever does kufr is a kafir, whoever does haram is a athim, whoever does fisq is a fasiq. To most people this might sound legit. It sounds correct. If you do an action of shirk, then of course you're a mushrik. No, this is not correct. This is from the manhaj of the Khawarij. Before we can call this person a mushrik, we have to go through something called ثبوت الشروط وانتفاء الموانع. Now let's make it clear. Here's the individual that done the action. Here's the ruling, or the action itself. The action itself might be shirk or kufr or fisq. Yes. But can we apply it on this person directly just because he done it? No, here's where we stop. The ulama of Ahl Sunnah separate the two. And they placed in between them 6 conditions and preventatives. These are called محطات إثبات الشروط وانتفاء الموانع. Now let's go through it with examples, a little bit of dalil, just so we can clarify it. A person done an action of kufr. The first mahatta is al-aql وضده الجنون. The first stop we look at is sanity, and the preventative is insanity. And for every condition there's an opposite preventative. Meaning to say that if someone done an action of kufr and they are insane, then we cannot apply this action of this ruling of kufr onto this individual. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمُ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ. The pen has been lifted upon 3. There's 3 types of people who are not held accountable at all. And the Prophet ﷺ said, الْمَجْنُونَ حَتَّى يَعْقِلْ. The insane person until he regains his sanity. And if he never regains his sanity, then he is still unaccountable. So if he does it and he's sane, then we go to the next stop, which is al-bulugh وَضِدُّهُ الصِّغَرِ. Reaching the age of puberty, and the preventative is being underage. For if someone done an action of kufr and they are under the age of puberty, then we cannot apply kufr to this child. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said in continuation of the hadith, وَعَنِ الصَّبِيِّ حَتَّى يَحْتَلِبْ, till the minor, until they reach an age of puberty. And as we say, when the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina, there was young girls who were under the age of puberty singing a song talking about the shuhada, and they said, وَفِينَ نَبِيٌّ يَعْلَمُ الْغَدِ. And amongst us is a prophet who knows what will happen tomorrow. This is shirk, to think that someone knows the unseen. We're not talking about that the Prophet ﷺ told us about the minor and major signs before the Day of Judgment, what will happen in the future, because this was all wahi, this was revelation. We're talking about attributing knowledge of the unseen to himself. This cannot be attributed to him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But rather he corrected them. He said, don't sing that, but sing what you were singing before. People today would make kufr very easily on a child. They wouldn't care. They will say, this child, he committed an act of shirk, so he is a mushrik. It's insane. And the sheikh overseas received a phone call from someone who said, Ya Sheikh, what is the ruling on adoption? Because I don't want my son anymore. He is a sahir, he's a magician. Khair, what's he doing? He's taking out pages of the Quran and he's drawing these weird symbols and writing funny things on it. So the sheikh asked him back and forth, as a correct sheikh would do, inquire so he can have a correct assessment and give a correct judgment. So he asked and he said, how old is your son? He said, he's 3 years old. Can you imagine that? Making takfir on a 3-year-old, a boy? Well, people will do it. If this person is over the age of puberty, meaning he is held accountable. And the third one about the pen being lifted, if you want to know, is وَالنَّائِمْ حَتَّى يَسْتَيْقِظ, and the person who is asleep until he wakes up. So if this person is sane and above the age of puberty, then we go to the third one, which is al-ilm وَضِدُّهُ الْجَهْلِ, knowledge that this thing is an action of kufr, and the preventative is jahl, ignorance. I didn't have knowledge that this action or this statement was kufr. وَمِثْلُهُ يَجْهَلْ. So somebody who just accepted Islam, we have our friend here, Matthew, he wants to accept Islam, say ashadu, ashadu, he says it, everyone come give him a big hug and kiss. Everyone leaves, he asks the Imam, Ya Imam, I've done a lot of sins, please forgive me for my sins. He thinks he's in confession, like he used to do in Christianity. This person cannot be held accountable. What do you do? Call the people back in, Allah say the shahada again. This person cannot be held accountable. Or anyone in a similar situation where they are cut off from knowledge and the people of knowledge and can't access the knowledge to raise the ignorance of themselves, these people are excused. This is excusable jihad. As for us, we live in a society where there's knowledge and the people of knowledge all around us, and we have numbers of the mashayikh on our phone and on our WhatsApp, and we send them texts all hours of the night, because they are, slaves of the community. If this person is sane, over the age, had knowledge, then what's the dalil for knowledge? وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Allah Azza wa Jal said in Surah Al-Isra, and we would never punish anyone until they get the message. The fourth one, al-irada wal-ikhtiyar وَضِدُّهُ al-ikrah. Doing it by force and willingly, and its preventative is being forced and coerced. The dalil for that is in Surah Al-Nahl. Allah Azza wa Jal said about who deserves the punishment and anger from Allah Azza wa Jal. Man kafara billahi min ba'di imanihi, those who apostate from their religion, who disbelieve in Allah after having faith in Him. Illa, this is where we pay attention, illa, except who, Ya Allah? Illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman, except he who was forced and his heart is rest assured with faith and iman. He's forced, but when we talk about force, then the scholars say it has to be either forced with execution or torture. Anything less than that is not excusable force in the Sharia. So if they're threatening to hack into your Facebook page, steal your money, get you locked up, key your car, whatever, this is not excusable. It has to be either execution or torture. Another thing, you have to know with certainty, or more than likely, that they're able to carry out their threat. And another thing, you have to believe with certainty, or more than likely, that you cannot fight them off or escape from them or get someone to intervene. Other than that, it's not excusable. Tayyib, if he did it willingly, we go to the fifth one. We're getting closer, We're going to make takfir on this guy. Everyone's pumped. Al-qasd وَضِدُّهُ عَدَمِ الْقَصْدِ, intentionally doing it, and the preventative is unintentionally doing it. You're driving home one night from dinner, from taking your wife out for dinner, as you do every day, and you pull into a park, it's dark, you pray Aisha, you jump back in the car, turn it up, turn the lights on, and what you used as a sutra was a grave. Allahu Akbar. What is the ruling on someone who prays to a grave? Shirk. Isn't praying to a grave shirk? Of course it is. But this person is a mushrik. Why? What is stopping this ruling of shirk from applying to this person? He didn't intend to do it. He didn't know it was there. How can you hold him accountable for something he didn't know? Al-Hadith in Sahih Muslim on Anas bin Malik, where the Prophet ﷺ was talking about the man who lost his camel when he was traveling. So his camel walked off and it has his food and drink. So he sits under a tree and he waits for death. He looks up, his camel's returned to him. So he grabs it by the reins and out of excitement he says, Allahumma anta abdi wa ana rabbuk. Oh Allah, you are my slave and I am your Lord. This is a statement of shirk by ijma' al-ulama. But is he a mushrik? What he just said is shirk. But is he a mushrik? He's not a mushrik. Prophet ﷺ said, أخطأ من شدة الفرح. He made a mistake from happiness. And this is a qaida usuliyya that states al-ibratu bima fil qalbi idha akhta al-lisan, that you are held accountable for what is in your heart if your tongue makes a mistake. For example, a man wants to ask his wife if she's pure from her monthly. He says, instead of saying anti tahir, which means are you pure and clean, yani, he accidentally says anti taliq. He says you're divorced. The divorce doesn't fall here. Why? Because he's asking it because he's excited. He wants to hang out with his wife. So if he doesn't, if he done it intentionally, then we come to the sixth and final stop, which is a small stop, but it is a very vast excuse for why the ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah give excuses to the people who fall into many incorrect actions or beliefs. And it is عدم التأويل and المانع وجود التأويل, having an interpretation, not having an interpretation or understanding or conclusion, and the preventative is having an interpretation. That's why they didn't make the takfir on the Ash'ari, and they didn't make takfir on the Mu'tazila, they didn't even make takfir on the Khawarij. Even the Khawarij are making takfir on them, they're not going to make takfir on them. Why? Because they have ta'wil. Ali radiallahu anhu was asked about the Khawarij, أَكُفَّارٌ هُمْ? Are they kuffar? For he radiallahu anhu said, min al-kufri faru. They just escaped it. Why? Because they've got ta'wil. What do you think about eating and drinking during the day in Ramadan without an excuse? This person who does it is a fasiq. If you eat and drink in the day in Ramadan without an excuse, this person is a fasiq. Adi bin Hatim, when Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ. Eat and drink until you distinguish between white thread and the black thread. Allah Azza wa Jal was meaning from the dawn, the horizon. Adi thought it meant thread, like a literal thread. So he would keep a black thread and a white thread on his pillow. And he would eat and drink until the sun was risen and clear and he could distinguish between the two. When he told the Prophet ﷺ about this, he alayhi salatu wasalam said, إِنَّ وَسَادَتَكَ الْعَرِيدِ. In a joking manner, your pillow must be big, for it's talking about the horizon. Then Allah Azza wa Jal said, min al-fajr. So this was revealed later. The Prophet ﷺ didn't command him, didn't say you are fasiq, and he didn't command him even to make up those days. He didn't command him to make up those days. Why? Because of the qaida usuliyya that says لا يؤثر المنهي عنه إلا بذكر وعلم وإرادة. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله تبارك وتعالى تجاوز عن أمتي الخطأ والنسيان وما استكرهوا عليه وقال تعالى ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. So these 6 conditions and preventatives must be examined thoroughly with this individual before applying the ruling onto this individual. This is from the minimum least you could do for your brother or sister in Islam. They stand next to you in salah and sujood, and they fast with you, and you see them, and maybe they're at home crying and with sincerity and everything, and you don't give them the benefit of the doubt to at least go through these 6 conditions and preventatives and know with certainty. One brother said, I want to make takfir and then I'll go through the conditions and preventatives. No, you don't make takfir. You go through the conditions and preventatives, then you make the judgment, then you make the assessment. Because al-asl bqa ma kan ala ma kan. The original basic rule is to remain what is as it is until something removes it out. And the ulama of Ahl Sunnah say, من ثبت إسلامه بيقين فلا يجوز إخراجه من دائرته إلا بيقين. Whoever's Islam is proven with certainty, meaning this person is certainly a Muslim, then nothing can take him out of the state of Islam except with certainty. Not hearing through a brother, through a sister, through someone who read someone's post and then you go and say this person is a mushrik, kafir, murtad, and then you actually start spreading the rumors about Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah يخطئون ولا يكفرون. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah يخطئون ولا يكفرون. They would rather look for excuses of it being a mistake rather than to go and make takfir. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, I have committed zina. So he alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, لعلك قبلت أو غمست أو نظرت. He said, I've committed zina, to the Prophet ﷺ confessing. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, maybe you just kissed her, or you just winked at her or looked at her, trying to clarify and make sure the lesser things before going into the major things. Today, people, Ya Allah, they can't wait to find dirt on someone just so they can make takfir on. Takfir is a hukum shara'i, it's an Islamic ruling, lillah wa rasul, with the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't go by emotions. Oh, this person, he's pissed me off, or he's annoyed me, or he's doing something and I don't think it's right, so I've got to make takfir on him. It's not a badge of honor, and it's not a ghanima to make takfir on your Muslim brothers and sisters. So just as you would like that respect and that decency and the benefit of the doubt, give it to others. For when I was talking to a brother and he said, I'll make takfir on them, and then when I feel like it, that he's met my commands, or I'm satisfied, then I'll either bring him back into Islam or take him out. I said, Tayyib, what if he wasn't a Muslim? What if he wasn't a kafir then, that you went through and he had a legit reason? So he goes, then he's a Muslim. I said, Tayyib, but what about you? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, one of you it will land on one of you. He said, no, it won't land on me. I said, why? He said, excuse of ignorance. عذر بالجهل. You give it for yourself and you don't give it for others. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, these are the conditions and preventatives of takfir. Sanity, and the preventative is insanity. Overage, and the preventative is underage. Knowledge, and the preventative is ignorance. Willingly, and the preventative is forced. Intentionally, and the preventative is unintentionally. And the final one is ta'wil, adam al-ta'wil, and the preventative is having ta'wil. May Allah Azza wa Jal correct our affairs. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.